Hey, welcome to day 8 of my build. I've managed to put in a couple of hours of research. Been a little bit caught up with the Fractal community helping out with some other matters today. But let's go over what we've gone through. So I'm mostly focusing currently on the collision detection between players and trying to understand how many points each player has. So I've been finding it's actually incredibly buggy, and that's because I clearly am missing some understanding. So what I've very jankily been working on is this player board, which will allow you to put your own name in at some point and will have better format. But in the meantime, I'm just trying to use it for debugging purposes. So there's this number here. Each player starts off with 10 points. It'll go back to 0 at some point. But for whatever reason, I put in 10. I think it was because I was using it for a size vector just to initialize players with a certain size. But I don't really need to start at 10. So I'll change that later. But nonetheless, this is my player 1. And the points, well, player 1, 2, 2, points are incrementing by 1. The only issue I'm now finding is I was using a technique previously on collisions that I would read the opposing player's game object. I can't see the scores on this one. Let's zoom out. Well, nonetheless, I think you can say here's player 1, 2, 2. So that's the other client. Player 1, 2, 2 is up here. Has 16 points, but now I've worked out that I'm having a synchronization issue that each client doesn't actually know the amount of points that the other player has. So I've got some code that, let me just bounce around, try and get the players in the same spot. Cool. All right, so here's my player that supposedly has 12 points, as we can see up top right hand, top left. Let's see if I can zoom this out a little bit more. I don't know why I can drag that. That's really strange. That's another thing to review. So player 689 currently has 17 points. Now just moving over to my other screen, player 122 has 16 points. So in theory, when player with 17 points bumps into this other player, let's see if I can actually control this better. So I've now got 21 points. I would assume that my logic, which states player with more points can consume the other player, I should be able to consume them. And I'm also writing out some results to my what's called a console log, which essentially just allows you to store information or show live real-time information. So, and as you bump into them, I didn't even pay attention. I just bumped into them and it didn't log me any information telling me why I was destroyed. Now, the reason I was destroyed in this instance is the other client, the other player, this screen here, registered a collision event and it sent a remote procedure call. So a remote procedure call allows us to communicate to all the other players. That's why it's called remote. And that remote procedure call says kill player. So the receiving client here knows he's got a piece of logic that says kill me. And someone's called me and they've told me to die. So that's essentially what happened here. I have also, for test purposes, let's see if I can move around, have my players automatically respawning so I don't have to start again. So as this player runs through, I'm hoping that this doesn't always happen. So if I bump into them, it might give me some other information here. Let's see if I can scroll down. Oh, okay. Sorry, I should have scrolled down. So when I first collided and my fractal was just destroyed, it looks like the message came across first from the other player saying, I'm going to kill you because I have more points than you. And then I have my own log here saying, from a local perspective, the information I understand, when we've collided together, I have 16 points. The opposing player has 10 points, so I should be consuming them. So I've got this conflicting piece of information where both players think they should be killing one another. And it's really the first one that manages to send a message to the server and have that message sent to the other player. Whichever message is delivered first seems to be winning. It's very interesting. So now what I'm working out, and the great thing about having this leaderboard is I'm now thinking about I can really focus on this point synchronization, because if I can have my collisions not based on, all right, when you bounce into this player, how many points do they have? Potentially I can bounce into that player and say, how many points do you have based on the information I have in the leaderboard? Because I'm finding it very inconsistent at the moment that when I make a single player game, I can bounce into other players and I can read their information because they're like an NPC, they're a computer player. When you play a single player game, your computer does all the governance in regards to, how much health that player has. That player has 100 health. Over the course of 60 seconds, maybe they're healing. They've now got 150 health. And that's all governed and controlled by your computer in a single player situation. In this instance, all my player knows is when another player is starting, they've got 10 points because I start off with 10 points. But my computer doesn't seem to be by default keeping in sync. And sometimes it does. But what it's not keeping in sync is how many points the other person has managed to accumulate as they're going around the map. The only thing that is being sent to me, and I can see that, is we've got the visual aesthetics of the player. We can see that they're growing and we can see where they're moving, but we don't actually know the points. So that's something I'm needing to work on now. So for that reason alone, I'm thinking I'm going to actually properly put some effort on my next day. It's the weekend now, so I'm going to be struggling, so I've got to go spend time with the family. But I really want to spend effort on this leaderboard next. Make it look nicer, make it more structured. If I'm lucky, maybe have it automatically resorting based on how many points each player has. I guess that's the aesthetics, but really important. I need to ensure that we're now synchronizing player information to the centralized leaderboard that we're all utilizing. And hopefully that can be a reliable source of how many points each player has. Hey, I bumped into you, you're Chris123. According to my piece of information, you've got 40 points. Anyway, we'll see how we go. I'm just thinking. We got to try things and also keep reading and see what other people do. If anyone knows, hey, reach out to me. I'm using Photon Unity Network. Let's have a crack. See ya.